So we have been looking at the Caribbean region. Do you remember where we can find the Caribbean on the world map or on Google Earth? Can you remember the location of the Caribbean region? So the Caribbean is also known as the West Indies. So when Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas, and he discovered Trinidad and all the islands, they called it the West Indies. So India and some of Asia were considered to be the East Indies because it was east of the Greenwich Meridian. It was in the eastern hemisphere of the world. And when they discovered the Americas, it was west of the Greenwich Meridian, that imaginary line. So they decided to call it the West Indies. Okay, so the Caribbean is also known as the West Indies. Now let's see. So remember that the Caribbean can be found between two large continents, between North America to the north and South America to the south, and we would find the Caribbean archipelago, starting with the largest island, Cuba, and coming all the way down to the most southerly island of Trinidad and Tobago. Do you remember what is the most easterly island of the Caribbean archipelago? Yes, it's Barbados. So Barbados is the most easterly island of the Caribbean. It's found somewhere here. So the Caribbean region is located in the northwestern hemisphere. So did you remember that? That's good if you did. So this is the equator which divides the world. It's an imaginary line that we use to divide the world into the north and to the south. So the Caribbean can be found in the northern part of the hemisphere, the northern part of the world, the northern hemisphere. But what about this line? This is called the prime meridian, or the Greenwich Meridian. It is called the Greenwich Meridian because it passes through a village in Europe called Greenwich. And it is also an imaginary line that we use to divide the world into the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere. So we can see that the Caribbean can be found in the Northwestern Hemisphere. Now, bodies of water that are part of the Caribbean. So we're doing a little review here. Remember that we have the North Atlantic Ocean. Then we have the Caribbean Sea. And we also have the Gulf of Mexico. And here we can see an image from Google Earth, more realistically, of the Caribbean region. Here's Trinidad and Tobago, all the way up to Cuba. These are the Bahamas Islands. This is Florida, North America. And here would be the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, the North Atlantic Ocean. But what about this ocean here that is off Central America to the other side? Do you remember what it is called? So we're looking at the Caribbean archipelago, and it is divided into two main groupings. The first main group is the Greater Antilles. So the Greater Antilles are islands like Cuba, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola. And Hispaniola is a large island consisting of two countries, Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So let's look at a map of the Greater Antilles. So it's called the Greater Antilles because they are the larger islands. They are greater than the others, right? So here is the island of Cuba. Here is Jamaica. And here is Hispaniola. And remember, I said that Hispaniola consists of two countries. To the west is Haiti, and it is divided by an imaginary line, an imaginary border, by the Dominican Republic to the east. So west is Haiti and east is the Dominican Republic. So these are two countries that are on this one island called Hispaniola. And Haiti speaks French, and Dominican Republic, they speak Spanish. Then we have Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico is another Spanish-speaking island that belongs to the United States. And this is Puerto Rico. Now there are smaller islands that also belong to the Greater Antilles, like Cayman Islands and other smaller islands that you would see. So here's a Google map picture of the Caribbean, of the Greater Antilles. And beside these, you can also see the Bahamas, chain of islands here, group of islands, as well as North America. Now the other group of islands is called the Lesser Antilles. Why do you think they call it the Lesser Antilles? So let's see, the Lesser Antilles is further divided into the Windward Islands and the Leeward Islands. So we have the Greater Antilles and we have the Lesser Antilles. But the Lesser Antilles is again divided into two smaller groups that we call the Windward Islands and the Leeward Islands. So they are so called because of the type of wind that the islands receive. So the Windward Islands receive a stream of wind, to put it simply, from the northeast, right? So we are part of the Windward Islands, and the Leeward Islands go further up the chain. So let's look at it. The Windward Islands are Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique, and Trinidad and Tobago. All these are the Windward Islands. Let's look at them on a map. Here we have the Windward Islands. From Trinidad and Tobago, then we have Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica. Right? And we stop there, and then there is the smaller islands like Petite Martinique. Right? So from Dominica coming down all the way south to Trinidad and Tobago, these are called the Windward Islands. And we get wind that blows in this direction from the North Atlantic. Okay? So let's look at the other group of islands that belong to the Lesser Antilles. So we had the Windward Islands. Now we look at the Leeward Islands. So the Leeward Islands include the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, Saint Martin and Saint Martin. So this is another island that belongs to two different countries. So it has two different countries on this island. Saint Martin belongs to the French and Saint Martin belongs to the Dutch. Okay? But this is a tiny island. It's not as big as Hispaniola. Then there's Saint Barthélemy, Saba, Saint Eustatius, Saint Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, La Desirade, Marie Gayante, Les Saintes Archipelago. So these are some islands, most islands that belong to the Leeward Islands that are part of the Lesser Antilles. And these are very tiny islands. Most of them we can't even see them on the map, okay? So we go up after Dominica, the Leeward Islands can be seen. So we have Guadeloupe, Montserrat, Antigua and Barbuda. There is Anguilla, the British Virgin Islands. The US Virgin Islands is also in this vicinity. And the other islands are so tiny. St. Martin and St. Martin is somewhere here. Okay, so most of these islands are very small. Let's look at another group of islands that belong to the Caribbean, and they are called the Leeward Antilles. So don't mix them up with the Leeward Islands, right? The Leeward Antilles. And this is a group of islands located north of the Venezuelan coast. So those are these islands here highlighted in green. Seeing them? Right? Those islands there. They consist of, let's see if you have ever heard any of them. They include Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire, La Orquilla, Los Roques, La Tortuga, La Blanquilla, Margarita Island, Coche, Tubagua. So these are Spanish-speaking islands. And here they are on the map. So here we see we have the Windward Islands. This is Trinidad and Tobago going all the way up the Windward Islands. Then the Leeward Islands. And here we have the Greater Antilles, the Greater Antilles. And just north of South America here, you can see Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire. And there are other smaller islands here that make up the Leeward Antilles.